Hello everyone, I'm back with another BeatMaker 3 video because I get a lot of questions about BeatMaker 3 and the workflow can be kind of confusing for newcomers. In a recent video I was doing a BeatMaker 3 beat challenge and it was in 10 minutes. That video didn't really indicate how to really get started with making a beat. So I kind of just want to take it back to basics and kind of show like how I really get started with pad-based and performance-based beat making and production. And I wanted to do this by resampling and transforming the sound from the challenge video because I ended up getting this idea and I was like, I gotta do something with that. So kind of like walking you through that process of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, hopefully just making it easier for anyone who's thinking about getting into BeatMaker 3 on the iPad. Okay, so obviously the first thing I need to do is create a new session so that I can get my sample ready, and I'm gonna go to a separate bank here and dock the sample there. I can go ahead and immediately get started, play some sounds somewhere, and start toying around and experimenting because most of the time, all the time, I don't really know what I'm doing. Getting some sounds somewhere gets me focused and ready to just start making stuff. So it sounds similar, but I've pitch bent it a little bit. I want to bring other drum sounds in, and so this is usually the next part of my process. And for me, that starts with finding a kick drum. I think it's this one. Yeah, that's the one. Now I want to get a snare as well, so let's see. This one. Yeah. Let's see. Then I also need to get my tempo set. I just start playing around without recording something, and then based on what I'm making, I can set the tempo. Now I can go to the next bank and really edit this sample and get it to sound the way I want. So right now, it kind of has this retro art. And then it's going to go to another note. So I want to chop those elements up and I want to separate those tones. So I need to copy this. I need to paste it. And I actually had it set to choke group 1. And this means that it won't flood the sound of the other sample. So that's the beauty of that. But if I turn it off, it gets all like messy. Now I need to go in and trim the waveform and figure out what part of the waveform I want to isolate in order to get that chopped up sound that I'm wanting. So let's see. I think that's it. Now I want that, but with the other note. Paste that here. Okay. Now I want to add a silent sample. That way I can kind of force it all to get quiet whenever I want. So let's see. There we go. We've got that there. So that's... Now that I got that, I want to record the sample on the timeline, and then I want to add the underlying beat for it, just to kind of start somewhere. So I've got a kick there. It's really drowned out by the synth though. So I've got the timeline, you can see them on the timeline. This is where I can see the patterns and I can see that I've only like recorded it kind of partially. And I'm gonna tweak that. And I'm going to jump to the mixing panel because I can't focus if there's so many sounds everywhere. I know this is against the rules for some people, but this is just the way I operate. I have to tweak sounds as I'm making them. You know, I do things the way I want. That's much more manageable. Also, I want to go in and I want to sidechain this, and I want to add a dynamics processing effect, and I want to sidechain it to that kick drum. And this can already kind of get it to sound a little bit more what it sounds like in my head. I'm going to tweak the volume a little bit more before I apply that. And here's what it sounds like without the dynamics processor. You know, it's just kind of laying flat on top of the thing. And here's what it sounds like with the dynamics processor on. So you can hear the difference, right? So I need to refine the kick and I need to add some sort of kind of snare rhythm. So I've got that track now, so we're gonna hear how that sounds with the beat. So right now, the beat and the rhythm definitely works, but it's a little too plain, so I need to kind of customize these sounds and start stacking different sounds to really give it more texture. We're gonna start by taking this here, and I'm gonna layer that. So we're gonna copy and paste. All right, and I'm gonna pan one side. And I did this in the beat challenge too, because what I'm doing is I'm sending the signal to one earphone, and then I'm sending the other to another, and this gives the illusion of texture, because then if I start pitch bending, it sounds like two different sounds, even though it's the same sound, but I've just altered it in a very, very minor way. So there, that has much more oomph than just kind of cleaning up that sound, because that kick drum has such a heavy low end texture that it really just drowns out the synth if I have it applied to the compressor the way I do. Okay, we are onto something. So now I need to start adding some other banks to supplement those elements here. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna create a bass bank, and I have a particular bass in mind. This is Summer Sub. We're gonna load that here. And for starters, we're going to just lower that a lot because sub bass can be super overpowering. My next step is importing sparkle sounds and a couple of like snare sounds, then also adding another synth as a plugin. If you want to see how I brought these in, you can watch that video and you can kind of see like me kind of creating those elements there. And then we have this lovely synth from AudioKit Synth 1, and I'm going to go to keyboard view. Has such a like lush sound, I love it. So I want to just play around with whatever sounds good with that synth. Cool, we're going to trim that. We're going to actually chop it in half, and then I'm going to delete that first bit. Drag that backward, duplicate that. So now we're gonna get that synth to sound how I want it to sound. Gonna apply some effects here. We're gonna start with some 6-band EQ, then some M-verb, then sidechaining, and then a low pass filter. There we go, there we go, there we go. And now I want to add the sparkling elements. Okay, so I've just kind of put all of those things together, and here is what they sound like. that's a little bit of my production process. And to kind of like streamline it, if I had to summarize the process, it starts with me importing sounds to different pad banks, getting them to play how I want them to. I record that stuff, then I can tweak some things through some pattern editing and kind of balance out the levels as I go. And it's not linear. This is a non-linear process for me. You bounce between different things, you're shaping things as you're going. And it's just a constant process of refining the sound and getting it to sound really what it's sounding like in your head, and then also not being able to get it to sound like how it sounds in your head sometimes. There are some times where I just kind of end up hitting a wall and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, and then I end up stumbling upon an accident. A lot of the things that I make come from accidents, and they usually end up sounding better than any idea I could have had. But I hope that gives some insight into what my production pipeline and process is like. This is just a very short kind of sample here, and sometimes that's really all you need though, so I wanted to keep it short and sweet and kind of simple. Definitely let me know what you thought, or if you have any questions in the comments below, and let me know if you want to see any more BeatMaker 3 things, like tutorials or anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now, so thanks so much for watching, y'all, and I'll catch y'all later.